Is Clair Obscure Expedition 33 really as good as people make it out to be, or is it just another hype train? What's up everyone, Grain of Salt Games here, back with another video. If you're new here, I'm a former game program student who have played games for over 20 years. That includes several JRPGs from Final Fantasy IX, Chrono Trigger, Nier Automata. When Clair Obscure Expedition 33 arrived on the scene, I certainly did not expect it to be a potential Game of the Year contender, but here we are. To be honest, I don't really recall or hear much about the game prior to its launch. The only thing I knew about it was that the voice actors of Guy Rossfield from Final Fantasy 16 and Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3 were voice acting the main characters in this game, but it wasn't enough for me to actually want to buy it. That was until I either read an article or watched a YouTube video where they mentioned the romance in this game, and as a huge fan of Persona 3 to 5, Cyberpunk 2077, and Mass Effect trilogy, at that point I couldn't really resist buying it. Starting with the story, you play as Gustav, a 32-year-old struggling to say goodbye to his ex-girlfriend. Why I mention his age, because the age plays a big role in this game, as you are living in the world of Lumiere, which is a French-inspired world. Every year, the people of Lumiere celebrate something that's called the Gommage. It's an event where the god known as the Paintress paints a number. Anyone who's equal or older than that number dies. Every year, an expedition goes and travels the continent to try and stop the Gommage by killing the Paintress. Hence the name of the expedition territory, as it's referring to the 67 expeditions taken since the Gommage started. While the premise was interesting, it wasn't enough to get me hooked on the story. That was until I reached Act 1. As early on as Gustav and the rest of Expedition 33 lands on the beach, they are immediately ambushed by a group of enemies. You see Gustav watch his friends die in front of him who is known for all his life, and then you make you realize the stakes. As you watch Gustav in agony and disbelief, seeing the dead bodies of his expedition makes him realize what he set himself up to and almost joins his friends in the afterlife. That's the moment that got me hooked on the story. So far, after 5 hours, the story is good, and I feel partially because of the voice acting. It does help that Ben Starr, Jeff English are voice acting the main characters, but I also feel like the rest of the group we met on this journey so far does a great job of delivering their lines. I feel like, yeah, I think it's because it feels relatable, like a group of friends going on a crazy journey. My only nitpick with this game so far in regards to the story is not so much the actual story itself, but the way it's presented. The cutscenes are amazing, but once you go back into the gameplay and you interact with the NPCs in this world and you watch them talk, I don't know what it is, but the mount animation looks so stiff and jarring. And going back to cutscene and going back to gameplay, yeah, it takes some time to get used to. Moving on to the gameplay, very similar to other JRPGs like the early Final Fantasies and Persona 3 5, but for whatever reason I was very skeptical to play it when I saw it has quick time events, which is strange to me because I like games like Legend of Dragoon and Shenmue, but I think it has to do with because I recently played Octopath Traveler 2, which put me off with its repetitive gameplay, which is very similar to that of Expedition, but without the quick time events. Come into Expedition territory, I was very apprehensive, but once I started playing and getting a feel for the combat, all my worries was put out of the window. In the 5 hours I've been playing the game on the PlayStation 5, the base PS5 bear in mind, the gameplay feels tight and smooth, with rarely any frame drops. Because I feel a lot of modern games nowadays can feel too easy, except with like some of the Dark Souls games. Because I feel there's no real reason to master the core skills of the game. Because for example, if you play a game like Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, and once you get I think the build is called Balloon or something, yeah, you can just essentially spam that to just walk through the game. But with Expedition 33, however, I feel like it has the right amount of difficulty. It makes you work to get good, by learning the core game skills and then having to master the timing of quick time events. One example is early in Act 1, where I found this mini boss, and coming into it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so easy, even though one of the characters warns me, yeah, it's gonna be a difficult one. And once I got into the battle, yeah, I got humbled. But strangely enough, despite my frustrations, I kept trying over and over again. And for whatever reason, I felt like this satisfaction I haven't felt in a video game for a very long time. Because I feel like, for example, with a game like Bloodborne, once you defeat that boss you've been stuck on for so many hours, you get that sense of reward, that satisfaction that's really hard to beat any other feeling. The only fear is that the gameplay can be repetitive. I hope eventually, as I continue going through Act 1 and Act 2 and how many acts there are, the game will introduce new features to keep the gameplay refreshing. But other than that, the gameplay is really good. For the moment you hear the main song, you know it's gonna get good.
Gustav, don't die!
And partially it's because the CEO of Sapphire Interactive was inspired by Final Fantasy. And you know with Square's Enix soundtracks, it's going to be orchestra, it's going to have that grand epicness, and the sound just gonna hit you in the feelings. And I feel Expedition Territory is gonna get there. And I believe that a great game is a great game, but if you have a great video game soundtrack, you're just gonna elevate that game to the next level. And what the signs is that you just want to take it in, just stop whatever you're doing, and just listen to the soundtrack. I think what is missing personally for me is that I have yet to find that soundtrack that makes me want to listen to it in my free time. Other than that, the soundtrack is amazing, and if you don't have any plans to play the video game, I recommend you listen to the soundtrack because it's that good. With that being said, while I always believe in taking any hype with a grain of salt, I genuinely believe Expedition 33 is one of the few games that actually deserves the hype it has been receiving for good reasons. It has an intriguing premise, gameplay that feels tight and fluid without being too easy, and rewards you for learning the core skills. And soundtrack, as I've said, elevates the game to the next level. So if you like this video, please consider watching this video where I talk about an indie JRPG based on Persona, and let me know your thoughts about Expedition 33 in the comments, and I see you in the next video.